I am Sonia Thomas. I'm the CEO of UFI, and I'm your moderator for today. First of all, I'd like to thank you for joining us, and a very big thank you to all our UFI members out there across the globe. I'd also like to say a big welcome to today's two speakers. So we have Jan Bertil Dahms, who's Senior Vice President from Trippus Event Solutions, and we also have Robert C. Heinemann, who is Managing Partner, CEO of Heinemann Management Consulting. So everyone, this is the 9th UFI Connect so far. All these online sessions, talks and panel discussions that UFI continues to bring to you, the exhibition industry, as the coronavirus keeps us all apart. It's a time to share and it's a time to learn from others. We will continue with these sessions in the weeks to come. You can see all the upcoming and all the previous sessions at ufi.org/UFI Connects with an S. And just drop us a line if you have some suggestions for topics. So we'll start with a few basic ground rules to make sure this all runs nice and smoothly. We have put you all on mute while our speakers are talking. Jan and Robert will talk for about 10 minutes each, and then we'll have a question and answers discussion with everyone. You can use the chat function to ask your questions. We will then field the questions, and I will call you up when we get to your question. The team will activate your microphone, and you will see on the screen, you will see yourself on the screen if you have your camera on, obviously. We'll try and answer all the questions that we can today, otherwise we'll try and come back to them later. As you know, our industry is facing major challenges due to COVID-19, and we are too, as individuals, as human beings. Most of us are working from home, whereas it is great not to have to take the public transport. And believe me, Paris is a beautiful city, but the transport network is a little less wonderful. Working remotely has its challenges. We're all confronted by our fears around the virus itself, for our friends, for our family, and about our future, and how the virus will impact our lives, be it from a personal or a professional point of view. We don't get to share those precious moments, those social moments with our colleagues, that quick chat over a coffee or a tea that we all take for granted. Okay, so now I'm going to hand over to you, Jan, to tell us more about communication during the crisis, the challenges, and perhaps you may have some advice for us. But first, we have a few questions for the audience. Pascal, will you put up the questions? Yeah, so first, good. Are we ready? So first of all, are you working from home? Yes, I am working from home. No, I still go to the office. And some people are doing a little both. Okay, so most of you are working from home. I don't think that's a very big surprise. Okay, you want to share next question, Pascal? Next question. Do you still get tasks from your team leader, or do you look for tasks? Yes, I still get tasks from my team leader. I just get a few tasks. Or no, I don't get any tasks at the moment. So most of you are being delegated tasks right now, according to the results of the survey. Okay, and question 3, Pascal, if you'd be so kind. Has the relationship with your colleagues gotten worse? Hopefully it was good to start with. Yes, I don't have any contacts with my colleagues. Yes, we rarely have any contacts anymore. Not so sure we are regularly in contact still. And no, we see each other all the time. So I'm very glad to say that the people within this group are regularly in contact or see each other all the time. Great, thank you. So over to you, Jan.
Yeah, thank you for the great organization. I feel very professional environment. Perfect. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to the world of exhibition. And I thought we have 44 countries joining, I think, worldwide. So I'm happy to share some experience and some knowledge. But maybe to address that at the beginning, I will not consider variations related to regions or cultures, because in general, strategies for corporate communication should always consider the culture, region, history, business behavior of the target participants. All these variations are less important for a communication crisis and the management of people in this time, because in crisis, the rules are changing dramatically. But all my advices applies more or less, regardless to any of the backgrounds. Maybe a short story of my background. I always like to call myself a child of a new economy, or the dot-com time, building up startups in the 90s with $80 million venture capital, 250 employees, 10 offices worldwide, close to IPO, but then exploded the bubble. And I had to fire 100 people, but most of them hired by myself. I was 20 years old, and it was one of the toughest times in my life. But I learned very early, on a very hard way, to deal with crisis and to survive in bad times, from a business perspective, at least. Out there are a lot of business owners and directors, managers, team leaders who had not the chance to make the same experience and are not so well prepared for the Corona crisis today. Crisis like the actual one requires a total change of our behavior, our engagement, and the way we act. We see that every day in our own environment, in our personal family circle, for example. But crises like this one are very special because it belongs to all of us. It is not a specific industry or region, it have a very strong impact to us personally. And maybe going a bit back to nature, all organisms on this planet have the same basic instinct that determines our action in life, the instinct to survive. We as human, an animal or a small virus, we all of us only want to survive as a basic instinct that is when we come to work. Our personal rituals, the daily routines, the structure in our life, the people around us we trust and take care about, let us feel to have the full control of our life and give us the confidence to live a safe, determined life. And this personal comfort zone gives us the power to aim for a safe and good future also. But now in this crisis, we lost all these anchors and nothing seems to be on the right place anymore. So we lost our daily routines. We maybe have a job, but not really tough to fulfill, no targets to aim for. And we lost our social job environment, so our team members, and everything happens out of our control. And it sounds a bit dramatic, destroyed the comfort zone of our business environment and maybe also of our private life. So therefore, in crisis, the strategy and rules for corporate communication are very similar to the instinct and empathic communication for personal crisis. And maybe to have a better picture in mind, Hollywood and Bollywood adapted these rules always for the final battle in the action blockbuster. So Mel Gibson as William Wallace in Braveheart is riding in front of his army to fight against the overpowering enemy in this battle. And he's talking to his people. And there are simple rules you should follow. As manager in crisis, you don't need to be a hero, but you need to change a bit your mindset and following some simple rules, human rules in communication. The first of all is that be visible. 80% of our communication is non-verbal. That means more or less body language. How I look in your eyes, how I are playing around with my hands, if I look up or down. And all these things are very important to identify your moods. And therefore, you need to use video conferencing or something to be online to show yourself and also to see your team members, to identify how they feel and how they are and how they're listening, at least. The second one is transparency. Everyone knows here's a crisis, and everyone knows the companies are on risk, so there's no chance to hide. So share and be honest in that, how the situation is, but also be clear. That is number 3. Honest and clearness. Good or bad news always helps to win back the control, give the chance to define own actions. Good news, I still have a job. The bad news, maybe someone will be fired, but also it maybe feel sad that I don't have a job anymore, but it gives me back the control to get in own activities, because I know what to do to survive when I lose my job, or I can, with my own power, try my best. So the worst situation is the unknown situation, where I don't know how it looks in future and who supports me and how I can act and how I can control this situation. Number 4 is understanding. It is not only to share information and data, you always have to compare data, and you always have to describe the impact rates. I take an actual example, like, for example, the corona numbers for Germany. Today we have 144,000 people who had an infection, and sadly saying we had got 4,600 people who died. And these are the main numbers that always are shown from the politics and from the media. But if you compare now the data and saying that 95,000 people are already healed, and that by a total population of 83 million, the numbers are very, very small. And we never had, to no time, more than 50,000 people with an infection in Germany. So we get everything under control. And comparing that number, for example, with the history, in 2017, we had 25,000 people dying in Germany, of course, of another virus called influenza. And we got 6 million people who had an infect. But we had no panic at this time, because we're already dealing with influenzas in over 100 years. So there's a difference in between how you can handle data, and you always, to make sure that people feel safe, you have to compare it and always show the impact to yourself, your company, and your team. And you have to build up trust. And the best thing is to build up trust is to show your actions. Everyone from us want to survive, also from the business perspective. That means business owners want to keep their companies, company leaders, managers, their position and their jobs. So what are you doing to protecting my job and to keep the company alive? So you are, at least, I would believe every company leader doing that is dealing in dialogue with financial institutes, is dealing with the government. Show these actions to give up trust that you try to do everything what you can, what is in your power and under your control, that everyone can keep, and after the crisis we will survive and move on. Number 6 is give your team members self-control, and give them the chance to involve or integrate them in your activities. Build up teams for crisis communication. Integrate them in some actions, or let them define own activities or challenges, and that they have the feeling that they are part of the solution and are able to act on somehow, because this gives always self-control and self-confidence, that you work on the solution and you can aim for a better future. The last one is maybe saying, give a future vision. I was saying with my screen. Give hope. The future vision don't mean that you have to show results. It's only show hope that there will be an end of a crisis. Give the chance to achieve some targets, and based on your activities, you always have to show the silver stripe on the horizon, only to say that you are right or wrong, because no one knows when the crisis is, but there will be an end, and that you can show your team members that you are strong, powerful, and you try to run with them in the horizon in the end of the movie. We as managers, we are responsible for our teams and employees. This means we have to help them to feel safe and secure, but the crisis can also be a chance to build a stronger team environment if you give them the chance to work together on a solution, and maybe also to have closer relationships as you had in the past. Maybe I would like to use an actual post to show great professional communication, showing some extraordinary action and some visionary business leader that came up 2 days ago from a company called Airtel, that is India's largest telecom service provider. And they announced that Airtel would pay in April the salary of nearly 25,000 employees for their distributors, retailers, and franchise companies who are partner of Airtel. So Airtel provided also insurances to their field services and to their partner company, to the people and employees of their partners. And this announcement gives everyone, as employee, as family, as partner of the employee, a family member, and the partner, and all the industry. This is a powerful announcement to say, we will stay alive. I got the power and I got the money to keep everyone around me up alive. And that's why it's shown in extraordinary action and vision. Everyone that I support today will extremely work hard with me in the future. And I'm building up a relationship that will never break again. So this is something that I believe it impressed me very much. And the communication is very smooth, social, but it gives a lot of power and a lot of security. So it is easy to be a good manager good times, but good managers can show their talent in bad times very good, and outstanding managers will leave their footprint due to their activities and support during a crisis. People management and communication is very complex. Our business is complex, and the crisis brings a lot of new challenges to us and new situations we have to deal with, like how to handle new employees that starting the job in the crisis. How can you onboard them, train them, and building a team with them and integrate them in an existing team. And therefore, I would like to thank you for listening. Happy to answer some questions, but I would love to hand over to the speaker to my today counterpart, Robert, who will then take you through some daily challenges we have, like onboarding and offboarding people in crisis and in virtual teams and not face-to-face. Thank you for now. Sunny greetings from Germany, and enjoy your beer.
At this time of the day, Jan.
It's always time for beer.
It's always beer time. Did I just say it was a Corona beer?
Yeah, it is. And it's extra.
An extra, wow, extra Corona. I don't know if we need that too much, to be honest.
I never tasted it, so I will taste it today the first time.
For sure, yeah. Okay, so before I pass over to Robert, I think, Robert, you'll be getting ready to speak as well. I don't want people to start falling asleep, so I'm going to ask you a few more questions, if you don't mind. Pascal, if you'd be kind enough to show the questions. Did you not onboard people during the Corona crisis? Yeah, so yeah, mixed response, but mostly no. I think we can conclude from this question. Pascal, would you be kind enough to put up question 5? Okay. Have you already, or are you planning to offboard people because of the crisis? This is maybe a little tricky question, because sometimes the offboarding can be temporary, but I think in this context we're talking about offboarding on a permanent basis. So again, I think the results are quite similar. Yes and no, mixed response, but mostly more no's than yeses. And question 6, please, Pascal. So do you think that your line managers are able to handle the current challenges in a sufficient way? Oh, tough question. Yep, so we've got 72% of people think that yes, and 28% say no, they don't feel that their line managers are managing the situation very well. Okay, so with this, I'll pass over now to Robert. Thank you, Robert, who's going to tell us more about managing people during a crisis and how to offboard people in a most compassionate and efficient manner. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. And Hello, all together. Very nice and good to see a lot of faces, well-known faces from the industry. So, yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about the challenge of onboarding and also offboarding people first. And this is because, I mean, we are in the middle of a crisis, and it's really a tough one. As Jan already mentioned, the figures from Germany, but when we are looking into other parts of the world, it's maybe in a way the same situation. All of us are really facing challenges with regards to HR topics. So as a consultant who is mainly focused on HR topics, it's you know, very much daily business for us to talk to companies and to customers about these issues and challenges. And from that perspective, I think it's a tough one to really onboard people at the moment. Why is that? Because when most of the people are in home office and you cannot see each other, then onboarding people might be really difficult. And to be honest, from an external consultant perspective, sometimes it's even difficult when people are in the office, because usually all of us are so busy that sometimes onboarding people is not the main priority for all of us, which is a difficult one, because if you are not spending enough attention to the onboarding process, this can really be difficult then a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months later. So therefore it's from our perspective also very important to really be focused on the onboarding process. And so just talking about my own company, I just onboarded 2 people. They started on March 1. So a couple of weeks ago, they came into the office for exactly 10 days. And then we decided to send all people home and starting working from home and from home office. So it was also a challenge for us to think about how to make sure that they are getting familiar with you know, processes and structure and tools and stuff like that. So my advice in this situation at the moment is really to use all the options you might have. And it's starting, of course, with how to onboard people. But before I'm going into that, I'd also say from what we've learned from our customers, for example, or from our network, is how to deal with it. I mean, most of you at the moment are not onboarding people. But if you have to, or if already contracts were signed and maybe in beginning of April or now beginning of May, you have to onboard people, it's to find a good way to do it. So there are 3 options from my point of view. One is, of course, doing it simply, which means they are starting, and I'm coming back to that data, how that can work. The second option, of course, is also to ask, and we learned that from various of our customers, to postpone the starting date, so that you are negotiating with your staff again and telling them in a very transparent way, of course, also if it is possible to postpone the start date, maybe to not from May 1, but to June 1 or to July 1. And in this situation, a lot of people understand that this might be also a good solution. And this is also an option you can choose and you have in the end. Of course, it's an agreement between the employer and the employee, but these days, those kind of agreements might be easy to find. The third option is, and that is something which is, of course, as everything at the moment is difficult and complex, is to send people on short time from the very first day. Short time, or in other countries also named in France, for example, partial time, or in the UK it's furlough, or in the US. So you name it, but you know, I think what I'm talking about. Setting people on short time in these days is nothing which is bad. Not in all the countries, but in some of the countries, you also have a lot of flexibility to really create this short-time approach. So before you are, terminating contracts or something like that, it's also an option to think about. So these three ways can help you to get out of the situation or to bridge it. And then if you decide to onboard people, I think the most important thing at the moment is really to have a clear action plan. I mean, it's always very important also in, in a situation where we are not in a crisis, but given the current setup and given that most of the people are working from home, it's very important to really have a clear schedule for onboarding the people. And I would definitely say it's necessary to have a 4 weeks action plan, a 4-week schedule, and it should be really a detailed one. And it's very important to make sure, of course, I mean, you might be lucky and happy that people from the very beginning can work with regards to what they have to do, in their job. But if that is not the case, or it's not, maybe not the case for 100%, then give them the opportunity to do that what they have to do anyway, to get familiar with internal tools, to get familiar with programs, with the content, with the product, with your services, and of course also with your systems. So it's maybe also a good time to really give people maybe a bit more time to get familiar with those tools or systems and so on, like it is in normal days, you know. And in the end, of course, it's very important, as it is for your whole workforce, to arrange meetings, to arrange one-on-one meetings, for example, with other employees, with their counterparts, with their co-workers, so that they really have a chance on a one-on-one, on a video, on a Skype meeting or whatsoever, to see face-to-face, to talk to each other, to learn more about what their colleagues are doing. So, and this also can help. And I think it's very important to really structure that and to really plan it, and not only to say, okay, look, if you have some spare time, use it and call your colleagues and try to do it. No, it's better to really put it into the schedule and to arrange it in a structured way so that they really are doing it, and that you, in a way, also have the option to see that this is also happening. And the other thing is, of course, including people you are onboarding into staff gatherings, of course, virtual staff gatherings from day one onwards, so that they get all the information they need, that they meet the people. And another good idea as a manager could be to have coffee or breakfast meetings with your new hires, you know, maybe 1 or 2 times a week, to really talk to them and ask them, okay, how do you feel? You know, what is working well at the moment? What is not working well at the moment? What kind of expectation do you have as an employee? And what kind of expectation are we fulfilling at the moment? And what is not the best we are doing at the moment, so that we can also improve things. So that is, from our perspective, from my perspective, a very important topic. Offboarding people is a different one. And one might think it's a more easier one because it's, that people are leaving the company. But we all know, and it's part of a culture of a company also, and as well, that the style you are letting people go for whatever reason they are leaving the company is also something which is reflected into the culture of the company. So you should be also focused on that in this difficult time. and also talk to the people on a video, also say goodbye on a video, maybe do a staff gathering also with co-workers to say goodbye, to farewell those people, because in the end, we all know that you always see twice, or you always meet twice in a lifetime, at least, you know. So therefore, make sure that this is also working well. And then coming to the other point, to crisis management. And I think at the moment, we are all together in the exhibition industry, and you know, I'm talking about my really personal view on that. I seriously have some doubts that we will have exhibitions or events or other type of gatherings on an international basis with visitors or customers during the course of 2020 at all. I really doubt that this will happen. So maybe you have a different view and a more positive one. I accept that. But given the restrictions we currently have, also with regards to traveling and stuff like that, it seems to be really difficult to get there. So what that means is, even though we are coming back in some countries, and that is, for example, Austria, that is, for example, Germany, and it is, of course, China, all these companies are coming back to a more step-by-step, to a more normal situation. But in the end, the crisis will remain and the crisis will continue in which way ever. So for that, in my point of view, it's very important for the leaders, for the managers to stay focused on the crisis and on crisis management. And that means also, and that is something which is pretty much linked to what Jan already said, think about how to communicate to people. Be transparent, be crystal clear with what you're saying and what you're doing and what you're planning. And this is, I think, in this point in time, very important, because as soon as we are getting to a better situation, because, you know, restrictions may disappear in a way, step by step, we probably, and we are all human beings, and that is quite normal to be like this, we try to lose the focus on the crisis and try to lose the focus on that we are in a difficult time. And we are in a difficult time with regards to financials, with regards to HR topics, usually we would say with regards to more or less everything. So taking that into consideration, staying focused on the crisis might help to also make sure that the people are aware that you are handling this crisis inside your company in a good way, so that they trust you as a manager and that they also stay focused on their tasks and keep on doing what they have to do. That's it for the moment. Sonia, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Robert. What I'm hearing, what echo from both you and Jan, is the word authenticity. To be very authentic.
Yeah.
Is that a true reflection of I think it pretty much summarizes what you've both been saying, because whenever we tell people things, they perceive things differently, depending on their own personal outlooks, on their own culture, etc. And we have to make sure we're authentic and share. And doing that, yeah.
I think there was one topic that Robert described perfectly, is and we sometimes lost that in nowadays. I was thinking about how you structure meetings. Thank you for that advice. Be prepared, give a guidance. That should come down to all meetings we have. But if I'm spending time in a meeting, I should know what happens and who attends. And I think this is also a guide for the time today, that even if we are lost in space somehow, you do it through the crisis, take the time to structure everything what you do, to help the others to understand and to give a guide to others how to act in the next days. What happening tomorrow? What's happening today? What can we achieve? And you as managers should be able to do that. And the main issue that managers have today is that in their jobs, they manage a task that is based on their job description. Yeah, I do sales, I have to achieve revenue. And that all the task I do is always relates to this target I defined. Now I have to change all my tasks because there's no business at the time and I can't sell. So I have to find new tasks that maybe have nothing to do with my manager or before. So I have to rethink what could be a good task and a good target for my team today. It could maybe be that take the chance to optimize your processes. And it's very hard for managers today to change this mindset. That's why the structure is very important. To be authentic, I'm absolutely right. We should always be that. But today it's more important to show that to be more human as a controller or a manager that normally reports and control. Give more confidence as person, as a manager in your position today. I think this is important. And if you mean authentic with that, absolutely agree to it.
That's exactly what I meant. I'm just going to call up Cecilia. Cecilia, she's the chair of the UFI HR Management Working Group. Cecilia, you've been demuted.
Yes, I see that. Thank you so much, Sonia.
Thanks, Sam.
So, hi everyone, Cecilia Henningsson, HR Director, Stockholmsmässan, Stockholm, Sweden. Yeah, I fully agree with this on being in contact with colleagues, with your employees during this time of crisis. It's important with this daily contact, I would say. If you are a manager with your employees, and if you are an employee with your manager, but also with your colleagues. So keep in contact and use this possibility to really see each other. You can, even if you don't have this physical meeting, it feels a bit like a physical meeting when you see the person you have in front of you. And this technique we can use, like Zoom, for example, is so useful during these times. And this is really a unique crisis. It's global. It's really affecting our industry. It goes deep into our hearts as humans, and also for the business and within the economics within the countries and so on. So we are really sharing the same crisis, which is really unique, I would say. I really would also say that Jan's, this being involving people, making people being a part within the teams, and also when you have changes within the companies, you get people onboarding. They can have been within the company, but in a different kind of departments. But make people feel welcome, even if they come from another part of the company. So share information, introduce people, have a kind of cup of tea. You don't have to have Corona beer like in Germany. You can have a cup of coffee or something. Say welcome to people, even if they come from another part of your company. I think introducing people and feel so they feel welcome is very important during these times when people can get lonely. They can be very being a part of the company and being a part of the society, like it is in many countries. So I think it's very important that people feel that they have a kind of platform. So I think there are so much good things having been said during this meeting. So I guess that we will go back and have some questions and try to answer them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. Simon Noddy, where are you?
Hello.
There you are.
Yeah, my question, thank you obviously for giving me the chance to ask, but my question was, a number of employers are using some of this downtime or dead time, or even as part of the onboarding period, to run training and development programs for the staff. Is this your experience, or are you using a much more company-focused time with your staff?
So you're saying that people use the time to train themselves and yeah, that's something. It's very diverse because I can tell you from my experience, I was running a lot of webinars in Germany talking about the crisis, how you communicate, but also how life changes when you're going to home office and have to reduce work time. And what I'm able to offer a special offering, because I'm working together very close to a company called Skillsoft. They're providing an e-learning platform. So all my attendees are allowed to use this platform for 60 days for free and to educate themselves. I'm very sad about saying that from 500 people that I invited to it, it was less than 200 that used the chance. But on the other side, I had last week, I already shared that with my colleagues today from UFI, that I ran a webinar talking about what a company can do to feel you more comfortable in home office, to give you structure, to give you connections. And I got a lot of sad emails saying, I'm very desperate after your webinar because now I see what my company is not doing for me. And they leave me alone. They are not contacting me. My manager, I love her, but she's not good people manager in these times because she's only crying how bad times is, but she's not helping me. So there's a very diverse, based on your own experience, based on the culture. I only can tell you, use the crisis can be a chance for you, can be a chance for yourself to develop your knowledge, but also to improve your work that you normally do. What, for example, if you're now leaving the office and are now sitting in your home office, what is working and what's not? Which system can you use today? And where you see there are missing documentations or so, take the time and improve yourself around you. But also take the time also to go back and think, what is something that I always wanted to know and learn? Now you got the time to do that. And it also helps the company afterwards. So I only can advise all companies, give now the time to your employees to give them the time to train, because you will not leave experience, because when a person is leaving the company, you always lose knowledge and experience. Now you can use the time to build it up and to have more knowledge people after the crisis. So I only can advise, do that, please. My experience is the opposite, and it's diverse. Sometimes doing it, sometimes completely no one there, left alone. And maybe one advice to employees, what I said in the beginning, that maybe managers are not prepared because they don't have the experience in crisis. If you are more powerful and you also are allowed to help him to be a better manager maybe, and to give him some advice how they should treat the team members in bad times.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, yeah, thank you very much, Jan. And I think, Cecilia, you wanted to answer as well, quickly. Yeah.
Yes, very shortly. I really agree on that. Use the time now. There are so many good webinars you can do individually or in group. And also it could be connected to this, to higher the digital level. It could be connected to leadership, and it could be connected to business related issues and so on. Really, I think this is the time to use. And there are so many online webinars and so on that are really high quality, I would say.
Thank you, Cecilia. I'm looking for.
Sonia?
Yeah, sorry, Robert, do you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah, maybe one additional comment and one additional view, which is from my perspective very important. I agree that this is a great time to skill up, you know, and of course also to use this time for training. There is something you have to take into consideration from the employment law perspective, and that is when you are sending people on short time or partial time or on furlough, then you need to take into consideration that these people are not allowed to do anything at all for the company. Because if they are doing, if you, for example, would ask them to do some training sessions, to do some online webinars, also maybe a company is providing those online webinars and you can use that, then you might risk that you don't get repayments from the authorities. So it's very important to take into consideration if you're sending people on short time or something similar, then you are not allowed to ask them to work at all. They are not allowed to pick up the phone. They are not allowed to answer an email, and they are also not allowed, unfortunately, but this is a situation, to train themselves on a company's request. Of course, they can do it for themselves, but not on a company's request. That's important.
Yeah, yeah. That's I can reflect that. That's very much the case in France, for example,
Yeah,
where it's
absolutely.
strictly forbidden to
Yes.
have staff work, training, etc. when they're on chômage partiel, part-time work. Yeah.
Same in the UK, by the way. Same in Germany, and so on.
Yeah. I'm looking for Tofik. Where is Tofik? If you have a question as well, Tofik Holly, nice to meet you. Would you like to ask your question, please? Did we lose Tofik in the meantime? He was here a second ago.
He's still unmuted.
I'm not sure where Tofik's gone. It's a shame. Had a good question. I'll ask this question. I have it here. What are the skills and competencies that you would advise having our teams focus on and acquire for what is coming after the non-exhibitions period?
Sorry, Sonia, can you say
repeat
again,
that.
Please?
Yeah, sure.
The
skills and competencies that the teams should focus on and acquire for the next step in the pandemic, the post-pandemic stage. So what skills and competencies, what do you think is important nowadays to be working on if we're training up teams and helping our teams to develop? What should those skills and competencies look like?
That's hard to answer on, because that depends on the knowledge of the people and in which area they're working. Generally speaking, I would maybe give a different kind of answer, because what I'm missing in the whole industry is that especially companies who are running fair trades or have this grand fair offerings, that they're only looking on this business they did before and are not rethinking about new business models, for example. What I'm completely missing is, if I'm running an exhibition or a fair trade, I'm kind of the center of the industry. I bring people together from the industry, so I'm the communicator for the industry. But I only do it always the same way. I got a room, I bring in the people, and when they're leaving, it's gone. Why not using now the time also to be the digital communicator and bring people together virtually? So I would rather advise people to maybe rethink what you've done in the past and think if there are no new ways to go now in future, maybe also in other days, why you should cancel a huge fair trade and do nothing. Why not bringing a platform and give companies the chance to communicate with the potential participant who would like to join, as UFI do at the moment. Yeah, we are connecting together using these webinars. This is one way, and it's a great way. And that's what I'm missing for a lot of people in this industry, I have to say. That's why maybe build up skills for online technology could be an advice.
I think to just follow on that, I think just saw the question here in the chat. From my perspective, to be honest, the most important thing at the moment, also when we are back to normal, let me put it that way, or when we are entering in the no exhibitions period, as it is mentioned here, is to reflect what we've learned during this period of time. I think all of us, starting with the leaders, with the managers, with company owners, then following down the ladder, managers, line managers, and employees, we are currently learning really a lot. And I think it will be also a challenge, but it will be a great chance from my perspective to transform that into normal life, so to speak, to transform that after into the period after the crisis. So if we are able to reflect on what we've learned, and if we are able to take that as a basis for entering into the new situation, I think it might help really to be stronger than you've been before, because a lot of people really learn also to work together in a totally different way and in a successful way as well. So therefore, I think it's very important to focus on that as well.
Yeah. I think Tofik came back in the meantime. So Tofik, we answered your question, even though you weren't, you eclipsed for a few seconds. So you're welcome to watch the recording again as from tomorrow morning when it becomes available. No problem whatsoever. These things happen. Angela.
Hi everyone, Angela from UFI here. Nice to see you all. Thanks for sharing so far. I really enjoyed the UFI Connect. I do have a question. How do you deal and address conflicts within your workforce during the times of social distancing and remote work? Anyone?
Great.
The question is, yeah. Do you want to address a conflict that's based on the distance or in generally?
Generally, I think.
In generally, yes, definitely. Now that we can't really see each other, really the whole body, just a friction of what we usually see, body language, as you mentioned, Jan, in the beginning, plays to all sorts of understandings, especially when there's conflict. So I would love to know how, if anything has arrived and how you addressed it. Thank you.
I think there are 2 or 3 main topics and then thoughts about that. One is, I mean, conflicts appear and disappear, and conflicts were still there before the crisis, and they stay during the crisis, and they will also maybe be there after the crisis, maybe not, because of the crisis is changing a lot. Can also be that some of the conflicts we had with the workforce before the crisis will disappear. However, I think one important message is it is not the crisis, the current situation is not the time to let's say, push conflicts forward. So what I want to say is we always have difficulties with people from time to time. Let's say, just as an example, low performance. You know, it's not the time to manage people with regards to low performance. I think it's very important at the moment to just let them as they are. And maybe they are changing anyway. So that is one thing. The other is, of course, conflicts are very important to pick them up and to really go into that as soon as they are appearing, which means addressing them openly, do it via VC, which is very important from my perspective, not on a telephone, not when you can see each other, but on a video conference. And of course, be close to the people as a manager. I think if a conflict is coming up at the moment, the best to solve it is to be very, very close to the people, to talk to them, and not only once, but maybe on a daily basis, and doing it also, of course, in a one-on-one, but also in the group, if a group is affected. But be transparent, be crystal clear, and try to solve the conflict at the earliest stage.
Maybe to add or move on with that, because a conflict is something, and as you said, you have to address that, and it will be harder, or the misunderstanding of your wording is harder when you don't see people and you can't read that and read them. That's why if you're now addressing conflict, it will be what's coming out there, or the outcome could be an explosion that maybe you don't have when you do it face to face. So you have to decide if the conflict is so emergency that you can't deal with the people anymore, or your job is on risk or something, then for sure you should address that, but maybe not in saying, I have an issue with you, maybe also asking, why are you doing this one? I'm a bit irritated, or Is there another chance to maybe find another solution? It's more not to addressing an issue, maybe to ask why people are acting this way. So you are not pushing people saying you're an idiot, maybe also to give them the chance to understand why he's doing, maybe also to give him the chance to rethink his activity.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Thank you.
Total sense. I've got a question from Farhan, which I'll read out for you. So Farhan's wondering if it's a good idea to connect frequently with the team whenever you yourself as a manager or as a leader isn't quite sure on the line of action. So is it communicating to not communicate? So what would be your advice on that?
So I love to take that only because at the beginning when I started with my presentation, I always said you always have to consider culture, regions, and business behavior. And this is a question we maybe don't really understand in Europe, because it is for us normally to engage with our team members without our line managers and our people managers. It is differently in other countries where you are not allowed from a cultural background to talk to your members without asking your boss, and your boss have to delegate the action. Now you have to meet. That's why different. Well, I'm just looking on the name if I'm right that we are closer in the Middle East and not in Europe. So my advice is to also involve your manager, to ask him for that. If you feel that this could be becoming an issue afterwards, because you don't ask your manager. If you think your manager is only not a good manager, but you don't care what you're doing, so for sure you should not wait until something happens. You should get in control and involve your people. And why not talking to them? They are not only your team members, they're also your friends, your job social environment. So you always, from my European perspective, looking view, you always are allowed to talk to your members. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Can I quickly follow up on that?
Sure, Robert.
Sonia, just a quick note. Farhan, I just saw your note in the group chat, and I agree with that totally. I think the world will change definitely during this crisis and after the crisis. We are in the middle of that, and therefore I think also conflicts would change a lot, and they are maybe not the same as they were before the crisis. So that's, I agree on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just saw the second post. Yeah, okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And sorry, quickly, I wanted a question. I have a very quick question, if you don't mind, Andre from Deutsche Messe. Hello, he was my former colleague at the International Summer University in 2009, I believe. Good to see you.
Just yesterday.
Yeah, this sounds like yesterday, but it sounds like a world before Corona. Hello, everybody. Hello from Berlin. Company is based in Hanover, but I'm based in Berlin. Yeah, so my question is regarding the motivation of our people. So I had a call this morning with my colleagues. They are based in different cities in Germany and in Hanover, of course. And it seems to me that there is really a problem of motivation within the next month or maybe even years. Because if we listen to the experts, so they say that big events are not possible, at least this year. So in Berlin, we just learned that big events are only possible starting in November this year, but this means that the big shows cannot take place this year, and maybe nobody knows what's in the beginning of next year. So all is related to the medical issues. But then we also have the economical crisis, which is most probably coming for a lot of sectors. So that means how to motivate our salespeople. One aspect is the medical problem and the problem with the corona itself. And then we are facing an economical situation, which might be not really very in favor of exhibitions. And this might be a worldwide issue. And this is my question, how to motivate people. Thank you. So, and you mainly are looking on safe people, if I'm right, yeah? Yeah. So two advice on that one. The first one is that safe people always like to gamble. So why not give them, so that was what I mentioned before, not looking for tasks that is due to their job description today. Why not challenge them on different way? And motivation is very, very important. I'm a sales guy, so motivation is my number one priority every day. So what I'm doing, so it's gambling, challenge my team members.
make some games. For example, one of our clients, it's a company called Brooks. They're producing shoes, and they had planned a lot of marathons in Germany. So marathons don't exist. So what they do is they're providing our solution on the same way, saying, why not do an office run? And so you upload your kilometers you're running every day, and this is a challenge, and you can see what your team members are doing. So that is the way our brand can still communicate to their clients, but you can use the time also to build up a closer relationship to your people if you give them the chance to challenge them, but also give them maybe also the room to answer the question themselves. Why not giving them the task, hey guys, look for a challenge for everyone, who everyone likes, and give the results. So it's not only give them a chance to be part of the solution and give them the chance to make some own actions. You got one issue. So that is one way to motivate people on a human way. The other one is, how can you motivate salespeople if you're not doing any revenue this year? And that is the toughest one, because 4 weeks back, I was positive in saying, after July, the business will come and running again. Smaller events will take place in August. Everything will be fine. Now we got our political guys that will be more, as it is in Germany, not 100% security, it has to be 120% security. So we are saying end of August, nothing will happen. Now we said Oktoberfest will not take place, which is in the end of September. But what's super panic mode from my point of view. So this part to give salespeople the vision that there will become a time where you can really earn money again this year. Don't do that, because this will not happen. It is more the question to your company. Are you able to change your business model and maybe setting up and saying, okay, we don't have the industry fair trade. Why not take that as because you are in the strongest position of the market. Everyone comes to you one day in the year. Why not using it and making it virtual? Give your power to your clients and your attendees to bring them together virtually as a virtual marketplace, or only the connection that you say, I got all the participants, and I can maybe also make some smaller campaigns that I'm asking exhibitors to make some offerings, and I put it together in a digital bag. There are companies offering the digital bags. They can put it in, and you can send it out, personalized, individual to your participants, and you can keep the contact. And at least now it's a time for marketing, but not the time for sales. And that maybe helps to give them something to aim for. But this is something that depends also to if you are able to change your business model or are open for new ideas, maybe saying that.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're just about running out of time. We've gone over time.
Again.
I'm sorry, I'm not German.
I'm sorry for that.
Which is
You're
not
German
allowed
as well. Robert, do you want to just add very, very quickly anything to that, or are you okay?
No, I'm fine.
You're all good. Okay, so I want to thank you all very, very much, to Jan, to Robert. I'd like to thank the HR Management Working Group. I've got Cecilia here. I've also saw Carla Ugel. I've seen Bettina Rosenbach. Thank you ever so much. Thank you to UFI members. Pascal, would you mind sharing the slides? Thank you, Pascal. So we've got another UFI Connect coming. Yeah, it's coming to you next Monday. It's at 11 a.m. Paris Central European time, 10 a.m. London, 5 p.m. Hong Kong time. So what's next for the exhibition industry in Europe? And again, as I said already, you can have the recording for this particular session available from tomorrow. Thank you, Pascal. Thank you to UFI team for all your help. And a very big, big thank you to our diamond sponsors, the TSEB, Qatar National Tourism Council, Shenzhen World, and Freeman. Thank you ever so much. Stay healthy, stay safe, and see you again soon. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the great show.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.